Hello and welcome. In today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you my 6 favorite tricks for posing a newborn safely. Hello and welcome. I'm Lisa from Milk and Honey Photography and the Milky Way, and I inspire, empower, educate photographers just like you to create the business, life, and art of their dreams. If you have not yet subscribed, make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss a single weekly tip, trick, or tutorial. I put these out every week, so you're going to make sure that you want to hit that bell and subscribe. So in today's episode, I want to talk about my 6 favorite tricks for posing a newborn safely. I know with getting started with newborns, you can start watching all these wonderful tutorials. We've got a few here on our channel, and it starts to look easy. And I want to tell you that it does take a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of patience. And my caveat to you is always make sure you're being the safest photographer on the block. So I want to give you my 6 favorite tricks and tips so you can arm yourself with the ammo to be as safe as you can possibly be. So tip number 1 is cleanliness. The tip number 1 is cleanliness, and what I want to say is naked babies poop. Honestly, they poop so much, you guys. They poop so much. I have so much sanitizer in my studio. I keep jars of sanitizer everywhere. We have a sink. We wash hands. When you're posing baby, and if baby were to make a mess, I always want to say, before you start touching and fiddling with baby's face, make sure that you've washed your hands, make sure you've sanitized them, make sure that you've got all the poop off that. Imagine someone, trying to pose you and touch your face with poop on their hands. It's really gross, it's not hygienic, so I want to make sure that number 1 is making sure that we're so clean and so hygienic and just mindful of touching baby after they've had a mess. My second tip is keeping baby warm. You want to keep baby warm, but not too warm. I typically keep my studio, I'm Canadian, and I typically keep my studio around 27 degrees Celsius. I find that sort of the perfect spot for me. If you're doing a lot of wrap shots, or if you're doing clothed baby shots, you may want to reduce that to about 24, maybe even 23. We don't want to overheat baby. Now, the way I heat my studio, I have an internal source that I am able to turn on the thermostat, and I'm able to get it to that temperature. You may not have that option. So if you don't have that option, there's a few things that you can do. You can have one of those blowing heaters, but I always want to say you do not want it to be blowing directly on the baby. You can have it in the vicinity of the baby, but you do not want to be having it too close blowing on the baby. They can turn red, it can burn them, they can overheat, and you don't want to be that photographer that hurts a baby. So always really be mindful of the heat and how it's coming in and how it's affecting the baby. The second thing you can do is the third thing you could do is you could have like electric pad or an electric blanket heating up the beanbag, trying to warm it up to heat that up so when you put the baby on there, it is not cold. Now, the caveat I have with that is, okay, so if you think about electricity and if you think about water, the two together are probably not a good combination. And, I know that there are these pads and these blankets, they may have, it may be okay, but I always err on the side of caution, and I want you to too. So if you're using an electric pad or an electric blanket, please promise me that you will take it off before you put a baby on that. I do not want you to be the photographer that has that whoops or an accident where baby's peed on an electric pad and zzz. These are people's most precious beings. We love these tiny creatures and we want to protect them. So make sure that you do not use an electric pad underneath a baby. My tip number 3 is working with a spotter. It is so important to have extra hands around. If you are 3 feet away from the baby and you've got baby posed in a bucket, you want to have someone in there to just be able to spot baby, because the last thing you want is an accident. This is someone's most precious little tiny person, and you want to be known as the safest photographer on the block. So what that means is when I have a baby on a beanbag and I need to go get something or walk away, I have someone else come and stand right there watching baby. I have extra hands when I'm posing. When I've got baby on the floor in a beanbag shot, I always have a spotter within inches. If I'm ever doing like a composite pose where I'm merging 2 photos together, I'm always doing it the safest way possible, and I'm always working, and I don't hire a spotter. I know that there is a possibility of hiring a spotter, and that is a great idea too. I always have parents come help me, and I find that's a great way to involve them and keep baby safe. So my next tip is when you are doing an overhead shot, always keep your camera strap around your neck. You got to pinky promise me on this one, because you do not want to be that photographer who is standing over that baby and you've got the camera above and the camera slipped. Oh my gosh, no, that will never happen, because your camera strap will always be safely around your neck. So if it were to drop, you've got it on your neck. You got to promise me that one. It is so, so, so important. And that's specifically over any overhead shots that you're doing with the baby. If you're doing it with the baby and the sibling, if you're doing baby on the floor in a prop, always, always, always have it around your neck. My fourth tip is reading baby's cues. Now, babies are smart and they will tell you exactly what they want. They'll tell you what they want in the way they move. They'll tell you what they want in the way they cry. You can start to feel when a baby starts resisting, you can feel it in their muscles when they don't want to go into a position. And so you got to read those baby's cues. Not every single baby will do every position that you want them to. When you're first getting started, I always suggest picking 1 or 2 poses and just trying to get those in the session. Don't try to get every single one. Try to get those 2 poses, and if you get them, awesome, great job, maybe move on, try another one, but don't push baby too hard and listen to baby's cues, because you don't want to stress them out. And you know, when a baby is stressed out, it stresses out the parents, and you don't want to be that photographer that does that. So just make sure that you're being mindful of listening to those baby's cues. And my last tip is number 6, is knowing when to quit. That kind of goes into listening to baby's cues, because the baby will tell you they've had enough. They'll start giving those indicators. They're moving around, they're getting frustrated because you keep moving them and posing them, and they're trying to sleep, or they're overtired and they're trying to sleep. So just know when to quit, and just listening to those baby's cues, just looking into what you've got already. You know, if you need a client to come back, that is okay too. Sometimes that happens, especially when you're first learning. So thank you so much for watching, and make sure if you haven't hit subscribe, you're hitting that bell so you don't miss a single trick, tip, or tutorial. And we also have a little bonus for you. Make sure you click the link so you can get the extra bonus of our pose list. It's all sorts of different poses that you can laminate and take to your session, so you know which pose you want to do and what the name is for it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Lisa from Milk and Honey Photography and the Milky Way, and I'll see you in the next episode.